This is Keely Bealey for BBC News. I am standing outside the entrance to the Cobra bunker located below 10 Downing Street, where Cobra, the Cabinet Office Crisis Response Committee, have just finished their latest briefing on the Syrian bombing issue. And BBC have been lucky enough to be granted an exclusive interview with Prime Minister Cameron and Military Officer General Snortzoff, who is an expert in military intelligence for that part of the world. Prime Minister, you have told Parliament that there are 70,000 troops in Syria, whom you call the moderates, and who are ready and waiting to back up RAF planes on the ground. Can we start by explaining that figure and who arrived at it?
After very careful and painstaking study over many months, that figure has been calculated by the highly respected Joint Intelligence Committee.
Isn't that the same group who predicted that there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq in 2003?
Keely, edit out that part of the interview before broadcast. Look, our intelligence reports state categorically that there are 70,000 anti-Assad, non-ISIS forces available for the task at hand. We have been bombing ISIS from the skies since the 9th of December. These troops of the Free Syrian Army, the FSA, are ready to take back turf from ISIS on the ground.
With respect, Prime Minister, we have clearly been looking at different dossiers. Our intelligence reports state, during the past number of years, the US has spent more than £400 million training members of what is called the Free Syrian Army. Of these forces, only 60 soldiers, that's right, 60, actually returned to the battlefield afterwards to take up arms inside Syria. In September 2015, US General Lloyd Austin, the head of the US military's Central Command, was asked by a US Senate committee how many of these 60 fighters were still there. He replied, "It's a small number, the ones that are in a fight. We're talking 4 or 5. In that same month of September 2015, however, there were new forces being trained up for the front lines.
And how many would that be?
Well, according to the US military, there are another 100 to 120, that's right, 100 to 120, but the numbers will grow over time, explained General Austin.
Change we can believe in. Not my words, they're from Barack.
Our intelligence sources also tell us that the FSA considers the Assad regime and not ISIS its main enemy.
Qu'est-ce que la différence? Not my words, they're from François.
The idea that 70,000 moderate Syrian soldiers, themselves divided into more than 100 separate religious and secular factions, family clans, and even criminal gangs, and based on the other side of Syria from ISIS, will launch a frontal assault on ISIS from the ground, while British tornadoes provide air cover from above, seems, well, rather fanciful, in fact, downright balmy.
Look, I am confident that our Syrian allies will show the D-Day spirit. You know, we will fight them on the beaches and all that guff. I mean stuff.
Should I continue with this briefing?
Yes, but we should soon wrap it up. We seem to be losing Wing Command. I mean, Prime Minister Cameron.
OK. Another Pentagon dossier estimates that what they call extreme Islamist groups constitutes more than 50% of the Free Syrian Army, with the percentage growing by the day. One German author who has interviewed ISIS militants in Syria reported last month that it told him, "We get most of our ammunition from the Free Syrian Army."
Well, my chum Nige and his UKIP foreign affairs experts informed me.
And I should also add that I'm not sure how moderate the FSA really are. For example, the FSA celebrated their arrival in Aleppo by planting 2,000 kilo bombs in the city centre and looting the city's schools. Amnesty International have been investigating this outfit.
Of course they're bloody moderates. We recruited them from the Jason Manford fan club.
A prominent Syrian activist and co-founder of a Syrian news outlet wrote last month there is no such thing as the Free Syrian Army. It has no structure whatsoever and they charge very steeply. Other experts who know the region well say this whole FSA story is mostly, and I quote, just a Western fantasy about an army in name only.
Look, enough of this tosh. I know the region well myself. Sam and I almost bought a holiday chalet there for the kids. Next question. Would you like one? It's a favourite of those of us on the Cobra committee. One of our fave sponsors.
I appreciate that there are limitations, Prime Minister, as to how specific you can be regarding the precise targets of UK bombing. But could you give our viewers a few locations?
Yes. So, here is the War Theatre. Sorry, wrong war. Another edit, please. You are the BBC, after all.
Yes, we are. And doing a fine objective reporting job, if I do say so.
Obviously, our starting point is the city of Raqqa, because that is the command and control centre for ISIS.
Actually, Raqqa is Syria's sixth largest city and has a population of 220,000. Or had. Civilian deaths have been high and many have now fled because of the hundreds of bombing runs. Most have now become refugees.
A slip up there, General. They are migrant swarms, only fit to be sprayed away with a can of Raid.
You're right, Prime Minister. At the BBC, we refer to suffering foreigners as migrants, unless they're stinking rich, in which case we stick them on the BBC trust. But let's move on. Do you think that this campaign can be successful without the use of British ground troops? Your motion to the House of Commons on 9th of December made no mention of this question.
Yes, that's right, Keeley. We didn't want to complicate things too much. And please, no talk of mission creep. I've been advised against that by the Right Honourable Anthony Blair, and he is, after all, the Middle East peace envoy, or a creep on a mission.
Most military experts agree that air power and bombing alone will not defeat an embedded enemy such as IS. Sorry, Prime Minister, I meant so-called IS. We have already noted how weak the current ground forces are on our side in this theatre of war. I'm advised that sooner or later ground troops from the US, France and yes, from our own country, young men and women who live from Land's End to John O'Groats will need to go into the Syrian battlefield, with Margaret Beckett and the Caravan Club of Great Britain bringing up the rear.
That comes later, General, much later. Say, after Hilary Benn has become leader of the Labour Party. When he spoke 2 weeks ago, the Tory press said that he electrified Parliament, like the Prime Minister. Wrong party, of course, but there we go. He was almost as impressive as George Osborne saying that bombing Syria would give Britain its mojo back. Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh. Sorry. Off topic. War is a far loftier matter, and one that transcends grubby, partisan party politics.
You have said, Prime Minister, that the UK has a special contribution to make to this war, that our missiles are better than those used by the French and US forces. Can you give some more details?
Well, yes, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to tell the viewers about Brimstone, the pride of the British arms industry. In fact, the very chair that you're sitting on is made by the same company that makes Brimstone. Around the Cobra table, we call them the Fire and Brimstone Surprise. Just the other day, I was reading an advertisement about this fine piece of kit. You see what it says here? When missing is not an option. And that's all you need to know, Keely. Missing is not an option for us. As George says to his chums on the Bilderberg darts team, it's the same in Syria. And we won't. Trust me on this, though I don't know why there is a US flag at the top right-hand corner of that.
Mind you, we haven't managed to sell Brimstone to any other allies, but we did sign a Brimstone contract in 2015 with Saudi Arabia. They obviously believe in fire and brimstone in that Arab paradise, and they're already doing a fine job as well in Yemen. Pulverise the place.
Don't lose your head over Saudi Arabia, Snortsov. They're our allies and our best customers for weapons.
Speaking of our allies, I wanted your opinion on the role of the Kurds in the Syrian conflict.
The Kurds are not our allies.
Actually, Mr. Prime Minister, the Kurds have done the best job of any ground forces in Syria against ISIS. They've captured a number of cities on the Turkish-Syrian border, particularly Kobani of the 4 months battle. And they've more recently captured some cities away from the border towards Raqqa. If we are going to supply weapons to any forces in Syria, I think we should be supplying them to the Kurds.
I am starting to wonder about you, Snortsov. Are you also a terrorist sympathiser like Jeremy Corbyn? The Kurds are not our allies. I mean, how can any forces that the Turkish government not like be our allies?
Well, can we agree that NATO partner Turkey is one of our allies?
Yes. Yes, and doing a proper job of it.
In fact, intelligence reports reveal that Turkey is one of the main illegal importers of ISIS oil from Syria and Iraq. Turkey is a leading market for drugs ISIS exports, and Russia now has a military fleet off the Turkish coast.
Well, perhaps the Turks can buy some brimstones in the next Black Friday sale.
Look, time is running short. Let's end with a few possibilities. A lot can happen in a war. What if Russia shoots down a British tornado by mistake?
Won't happen. And if they do, we can always use that knackered old Vulcan up at Robin Hood Airport near Sheffield.
Syria's dictator, Assad, says UK flights over his country are illegal under international law. What if Syria's armed forces or Turkey's shoots down one of our own tornadoes?
Then we take it to the tornado hospital.
Given that Assad has the largest and best equipped army in Syria, if our planes blow the city of Raqqa to smithereens, won't we just allow Assad to take it back himself?
Well, yes. But as part of the bargain, we will make sure that those good people of Raqqa will have their very own Donald Trump International Golf Links. And of course, John Lewis.
Any final words of prime ministerial wisdom for the viewers?
Trust me, I am a Bullingdon boy. Mummy.